Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the post show.
Hello.
I am not Josh.
You're not.
Nor Dave.
Nor Dave. Nor Dave.
Who is this man?
I
Where
know.
did he come from?
Well, if you've been watching the live stream, you probably saw me up there singing. I am Steve. I am here on staff. I am one of the pastors here on staff. And Josh and Dave are both gone today. They both decided to take vacation on the same Sunday. And so it literally is just me and Perry running this ship. At least when it comes to paid staff members. But we have a lot of
There's
people.
a lot more people.
Which means Steve and I have to keep them in line.
Always. Always. Perry's going to be joining us here in a second because he's got to run from the auditorium into the studio. So he's not a real graceful person.
I just picture him running.
I imagine. So when he comes
I
in.
imagine him getting stopped by like 10 people and having a deep conversation with all of them before he comes in here.
When he comes in, go to the wide shot because we got to see him try to like fumble into his
Yes.
seat. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I mean, if he fell gracefully, that would be
amazing.
be
right?
something to see.
Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's okay to watch people fall.
And-
Like they made a whole show about it, right?
Wipeout?
There's that one.
No.
Before that, there was what is it? America's Funniest Home
yes.
Videos.
Yes.
That's not strictly falling though. That's like any
all
dumb
sorts of
thing
things.
that a
That's
person
true.
will do.
That's true.
But Wipeout, man, that's my jam.
Wipeout is your jam.
I will laugh till I cry watching that.
What about you? Wipeout?
Do you know what Wipeout is?
I don't even know what Wipeout is.
Oh, man, Lexy.
We're gonna have to
Maybe some
introduce you to
time.
Wipeout.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe we can pull it up on the TV. Nope. Okay, here comes Perry.
Well, hello there.
Join the party.
We were wondering if you like stumbled and fell at all on your way in, or were you like bashing people to get here as soon as possible?
I forgot.
You forgot that you were
Yeah,
coming?
there was someone talking to me, and then Ben was like, "Hey, you got to go to the post show."
Called it. I knew that somebody would be talking his ear off.
Oh yeah. Someone was asking me a question as Ben told me that.
That's okay. That's okay. Hopefully, it was something good.
I don't know. He never got to it.
Oh,
Ben cut him off.
Ben's like, you got to get out of here.
It's okay. He's someone who always comes to our church, and he's volunteering today, so I think he'll still be here afterwards.
It's all right.
Good.
Yeah.
We do love your questions, though. I mean, if you do have questions, this is a good plug for our Ask a Question. You can go to our website or our app. At any point, ask a question. I suppose you can ask it about whatever you want. We've been trying to target the sermon series with
Yeah.
our Ask Questions, but I know some people have like submitted just any question that they have, and so I would encourage you if you have a question about church, about Jesus, about God, about your faith, about anything, throw it in there. We'll get to it on Wednesdays.
I have to tell my daughter when she's stuck on her math homework, like, submit the question to for Dave and Josh to go over. Maybe
Do you think Dave
they'll
and Josh
give
would
you
be
the
able
answer.
to answer?
I can't.
Out of the two of them, who would be the most likely to get the answer correct?
That's
A
like
math
good
question.
challenge.
I'm gonna guess Dave.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna guess Dave.
I feel like Josh has secret high competition, and maybe it's not a secret. Maybe he's just naturally competitive. But
Yeah, I
when
don't
it
think
comes
it's
to
a
math, though, but math.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's the reason why I picked Dave.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if they're watching right now or not, but next Sunday when they're back, you guys should ask them a math question.
Okay.
See what happens.
I'll have my daughter pick it.
Perfect.
We do have some questions though that I came up with for today, and I think the first one is probably the most important one. There was I don't know, there was like an experience that happened
Yeah.
this morning during your sermon, and I think we need to talk about it.
Okay.
Can we talk about Perry singing?
Ah, yes. And now you all know why I'm not on the worship team.
I really enjoyed the complimentary dance moves, though.
Yes, you were doing moves with it.
Yeah,
nice.
Like
that's
this.
that's how you do it when you're in Sunday school.
Can you show us those moves right now?
Well, it's kind of hard in a seat.
No,
but, you know,
I
there's,
think you
there's
do.
the climbing.
Yeah.
There's the wee little man. You just put your hand down, walking, you know, as the Savior passes that way, looking in the tree. I mean, they're pretty basic, but not as good when you're sitting.
I had never heard that song prior to this
I
morning.
hadn't either.
You have not really lived.
No, I
Your
think
childhood-
I think you're okay without
Your
it.
childhood was sad.
Surprise.
My childhood was awesome.
Now it's even more awesome because you know this song.
And
You want to know? You want to know something absolutely insane though? Is yesterday we were over at brunch at my parents' house, and they started singing that song.
See? It's a thing.
My kids were
That's
like,
just
"What is
that's
this?"
crazy though that it happened twice in the same weekend.
Yes, I know.
Like
pretty crazy.
what is God trying to tell you through that?
I mean, we're kind of wee little people, so I don't know.
True, the Brewbakers are very small.
That's funny. That's funny.
So I don't know. Climbing trees to look at Jesus?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe somebody needed a message of grace.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. Well, this is our week of Selah, or our reflection week, our week of rest, our week of just taking a breath. And as we look at the first half of this series, we look back at everything that we've kind of jumped into, which has been a lot and it's been heavy. What has been your biggest takeaway?
That's a very broad question.
I know.
Yeah.
This is
I know. I kind of wanted to make it broad to open it up for anything, because I'm sure there's been a lot that we've kind of like that fire hose experience.
Yeah.
But I know as time goes on, we reflect a little bit more and we're like, oh, maybe I should have said that, or, oh, I could have really asked more about that.
Steve and Perry, you guys haven't been on the post show, so I'd love to hear your answers
Oh.
on this.
Yeah, so I think for me, honestly, we've been talking about a lot of heavy topics and topics that churches go both directions on. What I've really loved each week is okay, here's these things, this is what the Bible has to say about it, but as we approach people who disagree with us, there's this measure of grace that we need to have, and we need to be approaching people in a way that loves them regardless of whether they agree with our interpretation of Scripture or not. I think that's probably the biggest thing for me.
That's
You even
good.
said that in your sermon this morning.
I did. I think that's why.
Yeah.
You know, to echo on to that, or to kind of add on to that, I think okay, I'm going to say something really nice about Dave Sanders, and I don't want it to let it go to his head. You know, so if you're watching Dave, I think he does such a tactful and wonderful job of expressing and showing that grace while standing firm on his beliefs.
We tell him that every week here. At least I do. Because he's really good at it.
Okay, then I don't need to say any
He's
more
really
about
good
it,
at
right?
it.
He's really good. I think we were truly just blessed to have him leading this ship as we've been tackling these topics.
For sure. Yeah. It's not easy. It isn't, because sometimes you can just get so focused on one side or the other. And we see churches all over the country that do that. They either focus too much on the truth of what's in Scripture, or they're just like, just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And neither is a good approach.
Yeah.
And it's so easy when we're talking about conflicting views and like wanting to stand strong in our beliefs. We get so heated. At least I do.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of other people can relate to this, that you just want to fight and like get very intense about what you're feeling and what you're thinking. And you never, from so far, Dave's sermons in this series, you haven't seen that in him.
Yeah.
You never see that, like, I'm trying to tell you it's right so you don't go to hell. It's like because ultimately at the end of the day, whether it's coming from anger or it's coming from with grace and love, ultimately all we're trying to do by talking about this kind of stuff in the church is get as many people to know God's truth and his love and get them saved, right?
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah, his way of doing it's always good. And it always comes from love, you're right.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think as you guys have been talking about those great topics or call outs, I feel like it's been contagious. Dave's mannerisms and, just his whole style and approach to all of this. We talked about it a little bit on the pre-show. Andy and I, just again, like what we enjoyed about the week, and we always talk about our small group. And it makes me think about, at least, in our small group, there have been moments where like we were on different sides of beliefs, but again, everybody had this and has this loving approach to it, and different perspectives where we can be respectful about it, share our different opinions. And I know that this has to have been part of, like, in a way, it's like Dave's our dad and like helping us, like learn, like, right? We get to take those actions and, put them in place and do them together in small groups, right? But I just imagine that a lot of other people, that this approach is kind of spreading like wildfire. And I hope that it's a shared experience too for the viewers, right? That it's like how not to be a jerk 101, right? But it's easy to forget those things. But I just feel like it's been the common theme every week about what you said, having grace, being loving, again, we all know these things. They're fundamental.
It's just harder to execute sometimes.
Yeah, especially with such tough topics.
Yeah.
So it's been neat to just be able to see it unfold even in our small group. But it's been something that I've been personally trying to reflect on every day too.
Honestly, it's even been convicting for me. And I came into this thinking like I have a lot of grace and a lot of love for people, and that I would never want judgment to come before that, because I've messed up royally. And so like I know that, and I know that God doesn't want me to judge people before I love them. So like I came into this series being like, oh yeah, I'm good. And I feel like every week I'm being convicted of I'm loving some people well through their sins, but there's some sins that people have that are just so like some just hit me differently, and I'm realizing that I am loving some people well and I'm not loving others well. And that's been really hard for me to own that and be like, I'm picking and choosing. And we often do that in a lot of areas.
Yep, absolutely.
And it's hard to own that.
Yep, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I think as a church, not just this specific church, but like the American church, the Western church, I think we've been guilty of that for a very, very long time. And I think this really helps bring to light some of those things. I heard a saying once, I think it's absolutely great, and it's, sometimes Christians love a good crucifixion.
Yeah,
we do.
I have heard that. Yeah.
What a saying.
And, we are quick to point the finger at certain things and very slow at others.
Yeah.
And that's a hard, that's an amazing conviction to have, and a place to come, a revelation to have out of this. So it's very good. One of the biggest takeaways, I think, for me, maybe it's just because of my role here and maybe because of all the work that we've kind of put in on the back end, is this series has really launched us as a church into this next level of discussion. We've been able to take what's happening on Sunday morning, and we've been able to open that up in a brand new way. So this post show is a great example of that, right? We're continuing this dialogue after the sermon, and people are consuming it. They're watching it. They're able to hear a little bit more. They're able to reflect in real time, and then to have the Q&As that we've been doing on Wednesday nights, the live stream Q&As, which is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Facebook.
Shameless plug.
Yep, small plug.
But to have those Q&As midweek for people, everybody, to be able to submit their question, and to do it anonymously in a way that's non-threatening, and you can really just open your heart without feeling that shame or that guilt.
Right. We're not going to be like, oh, Layla, gave us this question.
Yeah.
Well, we might.
Maybe if it was Layla.
Yeah. But just for us to take people's concerns, their questions, the conversations to another level. I think for me, that's one of the biggest takeaways out of this, is being able to continue this dialogue.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited because where does this go from here? And I won't be surprised if there's big plans in the future, but it just, no pressure. And if you don't have plans,
I
should
always
probably
have big
plan
plans. Yeah.
Well, if nothing else, our hope is that being able to continue to have a real dialogue where there are questions, because we live in a world where there is very little dialogue, if you think about it, at least publicly speaking.
Yeah.
When there is, it's on the Twitter sphere and the different social media areas where people are just attacking each other, and it's not really dialogue, it's just people shouting their own perspectives. And so we've missed that as a culture for quite a while now, and hopefully this can be a place where real questions can be asked and there can be legitimate dialogue.
I think that's one of the initial feedback that I had shared on the post show, is that I just was really thinking about how I didn't have this level of comfortability with my church, the first church, like growing up there was a different church I went to in high school where I felt a little bit more comfortable at being raw and like asking some tough questions to different pastoral staff. But like, I just think this is so neat for young adults, especially too, or, you know, it's just really neat to have this setting. And I hope everybody really leans into this and takes advantage of these opportunities to be able to submit anonymous questions or just know like, okay, well, now I've seen this side of my pastoral staff, you know, I'm going to lean into it and ask a direct question to either you or Dave or Steve or Josh, right? Like it just feels inviting and welcoming. And I think it has came at like the perfect time because
I agree.
the world is scary today.
Can you imagine, like, if every church was doing this and talking about the things that we're talking about?
I can't. I think it would be a huge historical shift in
Yeah,
so many
it's the
ways.
revival that
Yeah.
we need, right?
Yeah.
That's a good word. Yep.
But it starts individually,
Yep.
right? It's one of those things where you can always be like, I wish somebody would do this. Well,
Yeah.
you're somebody.
All you have control over is yourself.
Yep.
Your words, your thoughts, your actions.
Yeah.
It's true.
All right, let's let me look at a question that might be from this morning, other than Perry singing. All right. Oh no, there it is. How do you rest, pause, and reflect? Like, what are your personal ways? Like, do you even take time to do this? Like, if we're gonna turn the mirror back on ourselves.
I don't know how to do this well.
Yeah. I've literally been in counseling for things like this because I can't. Like my energy is just go, 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 go.
Mm-hmm.
I have to really be intentional. Things like where I've had the gal that I was talking to on and off basically since 2011, a gal named Patty I've been seeing with like when I had my first baby, and I'm like, all these feelings, right? But she would have to tell me, like, especially when COVID came about and everybody was working from home, including myself, like, hey, you can't just go from your working area right upstairs to your family. Like, you have to think about even little breaks through your day of like giving yourself some time. I just constantly am like, it's everybody else but me. So this is super hard. And for people who are tuning in, like, it's okay to admit that this is hard to do. But it's really important. And for me, I just have to continually give myself grace and try to keep redoing it because I will often have to like reset, and because I'm like, oh, hey, it's been weeks since I've done something for myself or just had any like downtime.
Sure.
It's hard to be disciplined in this space, which is just really interesting because it's so helpful when you do this.
Right.
I'm like, why is this so
Right,
hard?
you think something that is so great for you, we would instantly want to do and do well.
It's so rejuvenating
It's so hard.
and needed. But
Well, you two are in a different stage too, because your kids are in that like hyperactive stage
Yeah.
where they're always involved
so
with things,
needy.
right? Because I saw you post what this week, like Charlie was playing basketball,
Yep.
so you're at basketball and
Yeah.
you're at football constantly, and
You have more minis.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's been weird actually. Yesterday we didn't have any football,
You're like,
so it was like, oh, a day where there's nothing. So it is. It's hard sometimes because I think just the way we do life in America
Yep,
is
100%.
Yeah.
constantly busy,
Yep.
and it's not healthy. We know it's not healthy. All the statistics say it's not healthy, and yet we continue to do it. So for me, I have to be very disciplined, or else I won't. Because I'm a lot like you, Layla. My natural personality is just go, 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 go. I prefer that actually.
Yep,
me too.
But if I do it, I will crash over time. What happens to me is I will go and go and go and go, and then I'll get sick. And I'll be forced to do it. And it happens about once a year if I don't actually take the breaths and the rest that I need to take. So I have to be very intentional about doing it first thing in the morning, or else it probably won't happen. Because the busyness of life just
Yep.
takes over. So on a daily basis, that's what I have to do. And my wife and I, we just have to schedule it when it comes to the week. We have to be like, okay, we have nothing going on this day and on that time. So we're just going to hang out as a family and we're going to take a chance to just recuperate.
Yeah.
Because if it were up to me, I probably just invite people over and hang out and have parties and just do lots of fun stuff. So,
I get that.
yeah.
I get that.
Yep. Yeah. I think it sounds like most of us are probably very similar when it comes to this. That, man, we love we kind of love and are addicted to the urgency of things.
Yep.
It's kind of the reason why Perry and I are here this morning and not on vacation with Josh and Dave.
Yeah, what the heck?
These guys make fun of me all the time. Like, vacation is hard for me to take.
Same.
And it's not because I don't like going away and doing things, but I just feel like there's energy that I can get from this. And it's hard when I know, like, I'm draining myself. I'm draining my family. I'm draining, like, when it's feeding me.
Yeah.
That's what's hard.
Yeah.
But don't worry, I got vacation planned. Not till February, but I got vacation planned.
Hey, good first step.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we had a series recently where Dave, I don't remember what it was called, to be honest, but he talked about the rhythms of renewal. I can't remember what that was called. Do you remember? It's like within the last year, and he talked about that where you have to make it a part of your life on a regular basis, because if we just bank on vacation, yeah, it's refreshing, but then it's like, oh man, now I'm back to my unhealthy routine of life, and so it's super important to build it in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agree.
Any practical solutions anybody can think of that we can pass on to the people who are watching?
This is going to sound like a pastor answer, but I think that one of those things that I do early in the morning is I just take time to pray, and I take time to read my Bible and just be me. I often put on worship music, and it's not the intense, heavier music that I typically listen to, and so it just, it calms me down a little bit.
Perry's a headbanger.
I like almost any kind of music, but typically it's upbeat. So whether it's rap or metal or something like that, that's typically what I'm listening to. So, but with that said, and if I find myself forgetting those rhythms of renewal or just getting stressed on top of it, I really like to get out in nature by myself, whether it's taking a hike or going for a walk or a bike ride. That really helps me.
Yeah. So it really is finding those things that you can intentionally put into your schedule to slow things down and to reflect.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I try to do is, I hit this every Sunday. I'm always knocking it around. Sorry. But I try to reflect on what the moment of pause and reflect did for me, because sometimes I'll be in those moments. Even I've had like guided meditation and I'm like, this is so stupid. Like I will hate on that moment. So I really try to be intentional about like, what did I get out of that? How did that make me feel when I do it? Which again, not always super great about doing it, but just trying to keep track of what it does for you. I think is really important. What do you get out of it?
All right. We have 1 minute until our next service starts. You guys can keep talking. I have one more question that you can talk through, but I have to get in there because I have to be on stage in 53 seconds.
Oh boy.
So here's your question, and have fun.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
See you, Steve.
Okay. Who's going to read it?
I think you are, Perry.
Oh, so I get to say my own name. Perry talked about not expecting cultural change without Jesus. What are some real practical ways we can share Jesus with people?
Love people.
I mean, we learned a new song today, so I'm going to lean into that, I think.
Oh, you're going to sing.
Yeah, and I'm going to
Zacchaeus song
try.
to
Yeah,
people.
I'm going to re-listen to it and get the dance moves down.
Nice.
Share it with my kids.
Could we like do like a man on a street video to have you do that like in Kalamazoo and just
be
go up and
amazing.
sing to people randomly?
Or flash mob it. We get a group of people from our church to
The
flash mob.
would be pretty sweet.
That would be-
I don't know if that would necessarily convince people to follow Jesus, but
I think
it'd be
it would
awesome.
scare people.
Yeah.
It
Truthfully.
might.
Yeah.
It might.
They'd be
Yeah.
like, what the heck is going on? This is too much.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I like to lean into my testimony, and I have done that, and it's been really hard. But even this morning, I had a couple people just thank me for sharing some of the things, and it's just a blip of all the fun things that have gone on throughout my life. But I like to do that. I feel like all of those things have happened to me or my family so that I can share about, the love and the grace of Jesus. So that's my practical way. it's what I feel comfortable with and led to do.
Super hard to argue with someone's own experience.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're sharing, yeah, this is what God has done for me and this is how I've experienced him, it's kind of hard to argue that.
Yeah.
You know, and man, it can be really powerful to see how God has worked in someone's life. So I'm very similar in that way.
Yeah.
Of really liking to lean into my own story as well. What do you think?
Same.
Yeah?
I mean, one of my top spiritual gifts is evangelism.
Yeah,
And
that's so neat.
I didn't agree with that when I first took a spiritual gifts test. I was like, "Pff, that's not me. I don't shove Jesus down people's throat. No way.
Yeah.
But like the more I prayed about it and God revealed to me that I do that, I just want to tell when God's doing something cool in my life and I see it and I feel it, all I want to do is tell people about it and not be like, hey, your life could be better if you did this. But like, hey, I've been struggling with this or I've gone through this and I gave it to God and look at the ways in which he's blessed me, you know?
Isn't it interesting because you mentioned like at first you're like, oh no, I'm not an evangelist. Like evangelism's not my thing, because we often think of the person that's on the corner of the road with the blowhorn
Right.
or some person who's super in your
Well,
face.
that's where my brain went. I was like, that's not me. Mm-mm.
Yeah, but those are ways I think that we could safely say are not really effective.
No.
You know, it's not effective to just kind of be like, hey, y'all are going to hell. Like that doesn't
No.
work. The relational side of it, sharing your stories, that sort of thing is so huge. We did do a series called Bless a while back.
Oh, yeah.
If you get a chance to go and see that, it's based off a book also called Bless, that just really basically breaks down how we should kind of do this as people. And I thought that was super practical and super easy.
Yeah.
And so just to break it down, it's begin with prayer, listen, which oftentimes we want to talk before we listen.
Right.
Eat, so actually breaking bread with people, having them over to your house, going out to dinner with them or coffee or whatever, and then serving them, and then finally sharing your story with them. I just feel like that was huge as far as a practical way that we could do this.
That was one of my favorite series. I got so much out of that. And again, like there was just moments throughout that series where I got to connect with some coworkers on a deeper level, and it was blowing my mind. I don't know. I felt like everything was happening for a reason, and it was just so neat. So I
agree. I think that's one of the things that we're trying to do, at least within our small group ministry, to encourage people to continue to do that for their small groups, and hopefully it'll just become a part of our culture.
That was a series that when listening to it, it was all common sense things for me. Like, oh yeah, duh, we do that. Oh yeah, of course we do that. But like when you actually implement that and start doing it in your daily, weekly, monthly routine, yeah, you could see the shifts.
Yep.
Which is really cool.
Because again, it's one of those things that you know you're supposed to do this. You know this is how it's supposed to do. You know it's the socially acceptable way to do
right,
this.
we know things, but oftentimes we don't act and implement.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All the time.
Yep.
That's another thing I'm feeling convicted over in this series. That I know things, but am I really implementing them and acting on them?
Yeah. For sure. For sure. Yeah. I mean, even today, like the challenge I gave everybody to get out there and actually tell people about Jesus and be serious about that. And I'm talking to myself as much as I'm talking to them.
Yeah.
I try to be super active in my community, but I'm not always the most intentional about taking it to that next level of actually sharing Jesus with them and telling them about him. And you can't do it all the time because it will just push people away, like we said.
Yeah.
But you got to be strategic and actually, oh man, they're asking me a question basically, and Jesus is the answer. I should probably maybe talk about him a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It can be very scary in those moments.
it can be.
Very sweaty for me.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't wear enough deodorant.
That's one
for
way to
this.
say it. This was a very sweaty moment.
I'll usually just say that right out loud too. Like, okay, well, excuse me for a moment while I put some deodorant on, and then I'll come back now. But yeah,
Well, good. Any other thoughts?
I think we have covered a lot of really good topics, and I think we've answered that question pretty well. But I just want to say too, anybody can always put anything in the chat while we are going through the post show. I have my computer up, and I'll try to keep an eye on it too. So if anybody wants to share any comments, we can always try to dive into
Oh,
those.
nice.
too.
Yeah. Feel free to comment because Layla's always on there when we're
Yeah.
live. I
Yep.
mean, and
That's
it's
me.
cool to interact with people that way.
Yeah, and I love talking to other people, not just myself.
Yep. And don't forget those questions. Be able to submit those questions. We're going to
Yes.
be doing a Q&A again this
On
week.
Wednesday,
Yeah.
yeah. And it'll
Who's
be
doing the Q&A this week?
They're stuck with me. So, yeah, I get to do it.
stuck?
Yeah.
I think.
Just you?
And Josh. Josh will be
Oh,
back.
Josh will be back. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
Josh got to go and watch the Eagles play. He's watching them tonight. He got a special gift.
Oh, yes.
Yes, you
Yes,
talked
he
about
told
that.
us
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah,
Yeah, all expenses
We
paid.
miss you, Josh.
Lucky guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you can submit your questions to my3c.org. So get those questions
Submit
brewing
away.
and submit them in so Perry and Josh can review them this Wednesday.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, we hope everyone has a good remaining Sunday and a good remaining weekend. And we can't wait to hear your questions on Wednesday. And we'll definitely catch up with all of you guys again next Sunday
Yep.
on the
Cool.
show. Thanks, Perry.
Yeah,
no
thanks for
problem.
joining us this week.
Bye, everyone.
See you guys.